I'm Hannah.
I'm KG.
And I'm Natalie. Welcome to the Stride Sisters podcast. On today's episode, we're stepping away from the castle corridors and heading straight to the streets of Boston because we've got a special guest and a truly inspiring story. We are going behind the bib with our amazing friend KG, who just crossed the finish line of the 2025 Boston Marathon. And this time, it was a redemption run. She's opening up about everything, from how it felt to take on Boston again, to running for the Flutie Foundation, and what it really means to chase a unicorn. Whether you're dreaming of qualifying, curious about running for charity, or just here for the runner highs and lows, you're in the right place. So, lace up your shoes and step into the magic with us.
I'm ready.
All right. Does anyone have any big training updates they want to talk about this week? Natalie, do you want us to give us a Chicago update?
Yes, I am running and training. Had a little, shall I say, a couple of little quibbles with stuff where I had a really bad run one day, and I know why it was a bad one, so I just suffered through it and then was done. And then I had some weird calf pain, and my one officially documented injury in life was my left calf in my high school track cross country days, and it was just a weird twinge, but I know well enough to know to not mess with that. So bailed on a run is what it is, right? I'm not going to do speed workout on a calf that's saying, "Hey, no." So it'll be fine. It already even kind of feels better. It just, we are not crossing a marathon finish line by running a really fast 4-miler week 2 of training.
This is not where we risk it for the biscuit.
No, we don't. No, that is just sacrificing. That's just whipping the biscuit somewhere else. Wait, most importantly, in training updates, which is not related to training, I had to coax a bunny out of my garage this week.
It was a very cute bunny.
Very cute bunny. So I'm on a run. I'm actually on a good run at this time. Get a call from Mr. Natalie. He goes, "Hello, Natalie Rella. You brought a bunny into the garage." He's like, something must have gotten into the garage maybe when you were out going for your run. I mean, I closed the garage before I left, but I was like, oh no. He's like, "I left the garage open just so the bunny could run out." I get back. I don't see a bunny. I'm like, oh, he must have just run away. Okay, cool. I then later, go in, shower, get ready for work about 45 minutes later. And then I'm going into my car. And there's the bunny on a ledge. It's taunting me. It's really cute and fluffy. And I just stare at it for a good 3 minutes. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I decide to live update my boss too. I'm about to get Catholic guilt about a bunny. I don't want it to die in my garage. It's been hot this week. He's like, "It's not going to die in 8 hours in your garage." I'm like, okay, cool. And I basically spend the next 40 minutes, not quite that long, but I spend trying to coax the bunny out. The little effer is fast. And I realized that he's kind of been there a while because there's a lot of bunny poop everywhere. I haven't even pooped in my garage. What the heck? This rent mortgage contributing animal is pooping in my garage? What the heck? So I almost get him out. I go back into my house. I grab some carrots and I try to whip them toward the front of the garage, the threshold. Bunny doesn't fall for it. He really likes the underside of the lawnmower.
Probably because they don't eat the bottom of the carrots. They eat the carrot leaves.
I didn't have leaves, like, I didn't have lettuce at the moment. We had eaten our salad. And I start scooting the little, like, because he, like, finds so what I do okay, before I even start moving the lawnmower, I make sure all my running shoes are protected because, obviously, that, like, the ones that stay in the garage, like, even the one like, 'cause if they're muddy, I'm not taking them into the house.
No
Uh,
bunny poop on the Run Disney shoes.
no, no, no. If I had bunny poop on my Minnie Mouse Brooks, I would have gone postal. I'm starting to, like, scoot the lawnmower back because then the bunny runs further under the lawnmower. Because originally I was like, maybe I can get it to jump in or, like, slide into, like, my little spreader for my fertilizer, and then I can kinda, like, just take him, over to some grass in, like, the wet land or the not wild land area, but, like, kinda we had some, like, undeveloped area and then kinda, like, just, gently push him out. Because 'cause I'm determined to not hurt the bunny or kill the bunny. Because again, Catholic guilt about a bunny. I almost get him out versus using the lawnmower trick of, like, obviously it is off. It is off and just scooting it back. But then as I'm trying to turn the lawnmower, he gets smart and he runs back in. Okay.
No.
So then I come home a little early. I have pest people just happen to come out that day, but the pest people aren't here yet. And I'm like, all right, I'm getting this bunny out of here. And I try the same thing again, except I realize Bunny's peripheral vision sucks. This is a good thing because I take a ladder and I drop the ladder. Basically, I have like it's like Sherman's March to the Sea from US history through Georgia. And I put the ladder in front of the lawnmower. The bunny hides under the lawnmower. I move the lawnmower back a little. Bunny goes further under it, and then I push, and then I take the ladder and I bring it forward. Basically, because his peripheral vision, he wasn't stunk because he was smart. I was about to give him some work to do or something because the dude was he was brilliant. He can't see that, like, he basically thinks the ladder is like that's like it. Like, I am literally getting pushed out. There is no way around this. So I get him. And I get him back to, like, the threshold of the garage, and then the pest guy got there, and he's like, "Oh, you want me to help me shoo him?" And he just, like, kinda claps at the bunny, and the bunny runs away. So I got extra steps in that day, and, not really related to training, but I successfully and humanely removed a bunny from my garage, and then Mr. Natalie gets home, and then he hosed down all the bunny poop out of the garage. The end.
What I heard is we fought valiantly to protect the Run Disney Brooks.
A harrowing tale.
We truly did because I had, like, the idea that what's going to happen? Like, he's going to poop all over my Run Disney Brooks. And if I slide my little foot into a Run Disney Brook and there's rabbit poop in there, oh my God. I just, no. No. I just, no. No. I protected, my steel toes for when I'm at the plant for work. Mr. Natalie's lawn mowing shoes. Like, no. We had to protect the shoes that live in the garage. But we have not seen the bunny since. Because he must have been hiding under the lawnmower when I came back in for my run. Because, like, he was there a while, considering how much he left behind. I don't know what he was eating, because then I was worried he was eating because he was right by the fertilizer spreader, that he was eating fertilizer. And I'm
Maybe
like,
he was
oh my
just
God.
stressed.
Relatable, man. Like, but I was kind of worried about him eating fertilizer because I'm like, a bunny carcass is like the worst outcome here. I'm really not trying to have this bunny die. Like, and I also didn't want to, like, because I have a hose, and I was like, I don't want to have to squirt the bunny. That's going to make me so sad. I don't want to hurt the bunny. And, like, that probably wouldn't hurt him. It probably just spook him. But, like, I didn't want to do that either. Catholic guilt about a bunny.
It's real.
It's all right. The bunny was peacefully evacuated.
Yes. He probably thought that was choosing a little bit of violence because, considering the pest guy helped me with, like, just the very last step, and it did not involve the bunny going to the great carrot land in the sky, probably best case scenario for him.
What
about you, KG? You have any running updates you'd like to share? Do you have any bunnies living in your garage?
Luckily, no bunnies for me. I will say, you can probably tell by the size of my eyeballs, allergies are lovely right now in New England.
I bet.
Post Boston, I am doing 0 running right now.
Does it feel
Back to strength
glorious?
training. It does. It feels so nice. I'm actually tomorrow going to my PT studio to do a stretch, and I'm very excited for that. And then we'll see how I feel after that tomorrow.
That sounds
That's it.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have also not done much training this week. We've had multiple late night deployments this week for my job, which is not normal. And that took up a lot of my time. But on the horizon, my treadmill is being delivered. So I
Yay!
have
Woohoo!
a lot of very exciting content, I guess. I don't know. I'm excited to run on it and maybe tell you guys about it, and hopefully it doesn't suck because they're expensive.
Truly.
So, but it had really good reviews, and I think it's going to be good. We watched a lot of videos on YouTube, got a lot of reviews, checked everything out, used the old HSA money. So, yeah, it's going to
That's
be
so
good.
smart.
Yeah. Hopefully we can figure out how to buy the rest of the gym equipment we want with that HSA money.
Yeah.
All right, on to some countdown dates. We have 107 days until Disneyland Halloween Half Marathon 2025. If you are training for Disneyland, we've got your training schedule up. If you're running with Galloway on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's either 30 minutes, or if you're doing the challenge, it's 30 to 45 minutes. And then for your long run this weekend, if you are running the 10K, you have a 2-mile run. If you are running the uh, the half marathon distance with the beginner plan, you have 4 miles. If you are running the half marathon with the experienced plan, you have 3 miles. And if you are running the Chills and Thrills challenge, you also have 3 miles this weekend. Good luck,
But also, where do
everyone.
I sign up for the half mile? Because
Right?
that would be beautiful.
It's even
It's your
shorter
walk
than
to
the
the
kids.
corral.
Yeah.
Right? Give me a medal for that.
I wish. I mean, the kids' races are even longer than that, I think. So
Yeah, I think it's a mile.
we have 156 days until Wine and Dine Half Marathon Weekend 2025. We have 232 days until Marathon Weekend 2026, with your shirt deadline of June 15th, 2025, and your proof of time deadline of July 1st, 2025. We have 254 days until Disneyland Half Marathon Weekend 2026. Your shirt deadline is July 16th, 2025, and your proof of time deadline is August 1st, 2025. We have 282 days until Princess Half Marathon Weekend 2026. Club Run Disney registration is on June 17th, 2025, and general registration is on June 24th,
That's so
2025.
soon.
Isn't it? We're looking at just under a month now.
And still no themes.
Correct. You know, we might eat our words for that one, but yes.
It's got to be soon.
Natalie has her predictions of when she thinks they'll come out based on statistics and previous releases.
I think we'll get Halloween medals first, like the first week of June, and then I think the week after we will get the princess themes. So like I think that would be
So, like
June
a week or
10th.
two before registration?
Yes.
Sounds right.
Today is the day that Club Run Disney renewals for Gold open. So if you're trying to
Today?
get today is in day of release.
For everybody listening, my eyeballs just popped out of my head.
We scared you.
I was like, what? Hold on. Hold on, guys. Pause. I gotta be right back.
If you're really trying to upgrade to platinum, hopefully you knew this, but you really need to be on the ball when it opens, which usually is around 10 a.m. Eastern time. I'm not. So happy upgrading, not grading, staying the same
To you
to those
all.
who celebrate.
And our final race countdown is 331 days, oh my goodness, until Springtime Surprise Weekend 2026. Club Run Disney registration is July 22nd, 2025, and general registration is July 29th, 2025. What do you have for us on the news docket today, Natalie?
Boo to you. I don't want to get a copyright strike, so just let the Boo to You theme song play in your head real quick. Okay. Dates for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party for 2025 were announced. And it'll run from August 15th to October 31st on select nights. For the most part, the pattern has stayed the same, where it's a Tuesday night, a Friday night, and a Sunday night. Things where there's holidays, so like around Labor Day, sometimes then the schedule varies a little bit, and there are more nights within the month of October. Believe they add most, if not all, Thursdays. If you have an on-site reservation, you were able to start purchasing tickets on May 15th during your stay. So, and I'm sure what a lot of people are interested in, what overlaps Wine and Dine? There is a party on the same day as the Wine and Dine after party, post-race party for the half, which will be super interesting what people choose to go to.
Those
But there
Halloween party tickets are expensive, so I might default if I was running the challenge and already had the party ticket, might be going with that one.
Well, I think that would also like kind of be nice for the post-race party.
Yeah.
If people will defer to, because the other dates that overlap the race weekend are the 23rd, which is the Thursday, the expo day, the 24th, the Friday, 5K into 10K day, if we're talking the night. So I think runners, depending on what you're running, are probably going to default to the 26th. So be kind of interesting to see if then kind of attendance at the post race party is a little lower. 'Cause it's kind of nice when that happens. um, Sale for the general public for tickets begins on May 22nd, which is 2 days from now. Ticket prices range from $119 to $209 per night, depending on which night you're choosing. Go to the not Run Disney, the Disney website for information on each ticket, because it's not like it just ranges and it starts on the low end on the first night and goes all the way up. It kind of varies throughout. Our annual pass holders and Disney Vacation Club members can save $10 a ticket on select nights, mostly in August and September.
Hmm. And your Disney travel planner friends can book them for you.
Plug, plug, plug.
It could be me. It could be anyone.
Who could she be? Miss America. Um, but it's exciting. I'm excited to see Mickey's Not So Scary come. It's not like I debated it was going to come back, but something feels right when you're already thinking Halloween in May. Maybe I'll get out my little Mickey haunted house I got from Costco last year, because it lived once we were starting to move into our house. It lived. I just didn't. I wanted to test it to make sure it worked before, while I could still return it, and then I just left it out through Halloween. So that was in June when I bought it.
It's not too far away.
Well, you have that skeleton. You have the little skeleton too, right?
Oh, yes. Skelly is currently wearing my 2024 marathon ears to celebrate the start of marathon training season.
Love it.
Okay. So when this comes out, it'll be a couple days after our anniversary. I should put my mini bride ears on Skelly.
Yes.
Yes.
We're going to need a
Okay.
picture of that.
Absolutely. That's how we're ringing in year one of marriage. Or I can, I could just alternate. Doesn't matter. Wow. Beautiful. Skelly, I love how Skelly kind of just started as a meme, and now Skelly gets a new outfit seasonally. He's going to need some sunglasses for the summer.
We can get him a little pool floaty. One of those kid-size rings.
Don't,
Yes.
oh my God, don't threaten me
Yes.
with a good time. I just
Like,
bought a
you'll have to
kitty.
do also like some kind of like a margarita glass or something.
Mm.
Like full vibes.
Yes.
Maybe a hula skirt and a lei.
Mm-hmm.
The
Don't for
possibilities are
Beach
endless.
body forever.
don't forget the cocktail umbrella.
Oh,
Yes.
yes. I'll put a little sunscreen next to him and make sure that he, keeps his skin, even though he's just bones, safe in all this. I was going to make some sort of comment and then I forgot. Whoosh. But something I didn't forget about is that dates for the Epcot International Food and Wine Festival, presented by Corksicle, have been announced. It'll run August 28th through November 22nd in 2025. Everybody, this is going to be the longest break in festivals in a while. It is going to be almost 3 full months of Diet Epcot. Do you think they are sweeping underneath the booths?
I hope so. Or at least using a leaf blower.
Like, are they going to move them?
I don't think so. I feel like they're permanent installations now.
I think it would look so bizarro water. It would just look so bizarre at this
Yeah.
point to see everything without, because of the last 5 years they have not moved. So
Can you imagine the difference in the concrete beneath the booths versus the concrete next to the booths?
That sun damage is probably real.
it's probably why they're not moving them.
Even a pressure washer can't fix that.
Yeah, probably not. Plot twist for farts next year, they're gonna just move them slightly that way. Don't pay attention to anything with the arts just in weird places now. The chalk art.
Artistic shadows, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Maybe they would play into it.
Yeah. Perhaps. Fun fact time. On this day in 1960, actor Tony Goldwyn, who voiced Tarzan, was born in Los Angeles. Now, I did not know that he voiced Tarzan in the live action film. Or not live action, I mean animated classic Tarzan. Because when I think of Tony Goldwyn, I think of Scandal. And I think about how his spouse and Kerry Washington's spouse are the strongest people on earth for having to endure 7 seasons of Scandal and their insane chemistry with each other. Like, for the world to see, like, how believable these people in love are.
Yep.
Insane. Because we say this all the time watching Grey's Anatomy, is that Patrick Dempsey and Ellen Pompeo's spouses are also very strong people for having to endure that. But they are runners up to Tony Goldwyn and Kerry Washington, because oh my God, I could be convinced.
I also had no idea that he voiced Tarzan. That's wild.
I had to make sure I looked up, like, do we mean the same person, correct? Yes, we do.
Wow.
This was a good day in history.
It was. Also, in 1973, Tom Sawyer Island opened at the Magic Kingdom. Almost rip. I guess we still don't have news on that.
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
almost
That's gonna
RIP?
make that's gonna make me bite my tongue, because I'm gonna be like, oh, the Rivers of America close on whatever day, but
It made it over 50 years. So
It's impressive.
that it did. And it's still gonna be out on the West Coast with the canoes. We actually do have to do some paddling. Fun fact.
I would like to go out there and try that.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's just, if you think that you're going for a leisurely, like, you actually have to there is no like little motor on the boat. Like, you actually have to paddle your way around. So
High
it was
pass.
cold when I did it. It was fun. Because it was a really cool, unique view. And because you're not in Florida, you don't have to worry about there being like a gator in the water, in the turbid water. So
Probably a good reason we never had that on the East Coast.
Yep.
I don't have a neat, cool transition to bring in our wonderful guest, KG. Woo!
Woo-hoo.
You're back.
Thanks for having me back. I love chatting with you ladies.
We love chatting with you. You have some big news to share, I hear.
Yes.
And I hear I know.
We finally did it. we crossed the Boston Marathon finish line, baby. We did it.
Woo! Yeah.
Yeah. I actually have, let's see it, the little gem,
Wow, look at that holder.
Oh my god.
right? For everybody listening, it is a round, clear headband holder that I use for a lot of my Minnie and Mickey ears. And I was trying to figure out how to like dangle it because on the back, a friend of mine engraved it for me.
Ooh.
So it has my name. It says "Do It for Nate"
Oh.
and then Redemption Tour.
Oh.
So I wanted to find a cool way to like display it and be able to show both sides.
That's a great way.
So yeah, Disney adult life paying off once again.
I'll have to try that. You'll have to send me the link.
Yeah, they were on Amazon.
Oh, well, easy peasy then.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the people who may not know, let's go back to the beginning. You've attempted the Boston Marathon before.
Yep.
Let's start even before that. What inspired you to even want to run Boston in the first place?
I was going to say, well, it was a cold December night in 1985.
let's go all the way back.
We're going back to baby KG days. No, so I grew up and have lived my whole life just outside of Boston. So, of course, living in this area, the Boston Marathon is kind of like truly a holiday around here. It is technically Patriots Day, but it's kind of like if you don't already have the day off of work, a lot of people take the day off of work, celebrate all day. The Red Sox play and almost always win on Marathon Monday. So the city is just very vibrant. It's very lively. I went to college in Boston. I used to work on Boylston Street. So I've always felt very connected to Boston and the Boston Marathon in general. So it's funny. We always joke and say, like, the Tuesday after the Boston Marathon is like the most inspiring, motivating day because everyone's like, I'm going to run the marathon next year. Like, it's just one of those things, whether you are there in person or you're watching the news because they show the coverage for days on every news channel. It's always the day that everyone is, it's almost like January 1st, right? Where like everybody goes back to the gym the Tuesday after the marathon. Everybody's out for a run. Everybody's inspired. Everybody's excited. And for years, me and my cousins, we would always say, like, you know, of course, you can cut this out if you want, but usually everybody's hammered. We're like, next year, we're going to run. And then people are like, I'm not going to run. What am I talking about? So we've always joked, like, you know, we've always said that we would run. And again, I think a lot of people in the area would say, like, it's on my bucket list to run the Boston Marathon. And for those that I don't know or haven't met yet, I've shared this story before, but in 2013, it was the first year that I actually took the day off of work to go to the Boston Marathon. A bunch of my friends were running, which for those who don't know, that was the day of the Boston Marathon bombings. And it was a really difficult year after that for me. And that was, I feel like, when I really said one of these days, I'm actually going to do it. I'm actually going to run. And I had been running a little bit here and there. I had not run actually like a race before. It was just kind of like, man, I don't really love it. And then in 2017, a bunch of my friends, we ran our first, I should say my first race. A bunch of them had run. And it was my first 5K. I did the Couch to 5K program. And I was like, that sucked. That was awful. I'm never doing that again. Like, I remember how red my face was for like hours after the race. And I was like, that's it. I'm done. I trained for months for this and I am on death's door at brunch. This is not great. So one of my really good friends, she was like, I know you. You're going to run races. You're going to do charity runs. You're going to do all these things. And I was like, girl, you are crazy. I'm never going to. And here we are. So it was a really wild experience and kind of like journey looking back at it, to go from someone who's watched the marathon to someone who was there the day of the marathon bombings to running my first race and thinking I was never going to run anything longer than a 5K ever again, to running my first marathon and doing Dopey. And then after I did Dopey was when I was really like, I could do it. I could do it. Like, I actually could do something I really never thought I could actually do. And actually, on my podcast, we had two folks from the Flutie Foundation that came on and talked about their Run Disney plan, or their Run Disney program, rather. And it's the Doug Flutie Jr. Foundation for Autism. My nephew is on the spectrum. And my brother and I both were on the call with Ethan and Mike. And as soon as we hung up, we both were like, okay, so we're applying, right? Like, we're going to run with them. Okay, great, cool. That's going to be the plan. And we both got in, ran in 2024. My brother crushed it. And that year, I did not finish. And it was a really interesting experience, I think is probably a good way to put it, because it was like you had these really high highs and these really low lows. And at this point, I had run a ton of halves. I finished Dopey, tons of 5Ks, 10Ks, zillions of training runs at this point. And around mile 12 or so, my hand started to go numb. And it was like at my fingertips, and then it was like slowly going up my arm. And I was like, this is different, not new, never had this happen before. And my family was right around mile 14. And I got to them, and they all could like see it in my face. And they're like, "Are you okay?" And I just said, "No," and started like bawling. And luckily there was an ambulance like right behind them. My dad's like, "All right, whoosh, we're gonna go right over to the EMTs." They put me in the ambulance and did a bunch of things, and they were like, "All right, so we're gonna take you to the hospital." And I was like, "Oh no, I don't need to go to the hospital. I just wanted to know if this was like weird that I can't feel my arm." And they were like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, that's weird." And they like, it was so hot that year. They were like, "The med tents are full. People are dropping like flies. Like, it's okay." And I was like, "Oh no, I'm gonna go back out and finish." And they were like, "Ma'am, no, you're not." And I said, I just want to go home. Like, I don't want to go to the hospital. Then they read you the riot act, and basically, if you die, don't blame us, kind of thing. And I was like,
Mhm.
that must be so fun to tell people. Went home, and it was like it was one of the saddest feelings. But it wasn't even sad. It was like I was sad, I was disappointed, I was frustrated. I felt like all of these feelings. And at the same time, I also felt bad because my brother had finished. I was so proud of him and so excited for him, and also sad for myself. And he was the best the next day. He dropped off, for anyone that's from Massachusetts or the New England area, a roast beef sandwich, which is like
Oof.
a gem over here. He dropped off a roast beef sandwich and a 6-pack of Bud Light. And he just like ding dong ditched me
Lunch
and
of
was like,
champions.
yep. He was like, "You have one day to be sad, and then the redemption tour starts." And I was like, "All right, fine." And I sat there and I ate my roast beef sandwich with my arms crossed, and I was like, "This sucks." And it was my first real feeling of like, it didn't work out.
Mhm.
And I busted my ass training. I found out late that I was running. I joined the team late. They had somebody that wasn't able to run, so I was off of the wait list. And I was thinking of all these different things, like, well, it was this and it was that, and I never had this happen before, and this was different. And a few months later, I was like, all right, well, all of those things don't matter. What does matter is one of the first things that the Flutie Foundation members said. They're like, "So we'll see you next year." And I was like, "You know it. There's no way that my first DNF and my first Boston Marathon is gonna, like, that's not the end of my story there." So they were incredible. They were so supportive. They were so helpful. And as soon as registration opened, they called and they were like, "If you want a bib, it's yours." And I was like, "I'm in. Let's do it." So it was a pretty wild, kind of like full story to actually cross the finish line this year. Um, and similarly, the amount of support from the Flutie Foundation was incredible.
Was there like a specific spot on course or beforehand that like they really just like made you feel it?
Yeah, so they are always around mile 14 and a half. So I had seen
Ooh.
my family, and then around mile 14 and a half, they were there. They're like, "How you doing?" And I was like, "I'm doing it." Like, I was losing my mind. Now, granted, I was still back of the pack, like very far behind a lot of other people at that point. And they were like, "All right, amazing. We'll see you at the finish. And the executive director of the entire organization walked it in with me. Because around mile 14 or so, like right before I saw them, I started having pain on my right side, and it was my IT band. And I was like, I've never had this pain before. Great. Now it's the second year in a row that something new was happening on Boston Marathon Day. Great. And it was so painful. But one of the things that I did this year that was different from last year and probably any other race is I feel like in general, I'm a pretty positive person. But last year, I feel like I was in such a bad place. I was so mean to myself and I was so negative and I was so frustrated. Like this year, I said, I am not allowing a single negative thought to cross my mind. I'm not going to be mean to myself. So it was like, does this suck? Yes, but I'm still going. Is this tough? Yes, but I'm tougher. Like everything, I was like, yes, I will acknowledge that this is not very fun right now, or this hurts, or this doesn't feel great, but I'm not stopping until I hit Boylston Street and until I cross that finish line. And so the whole rest of the way, Nick Severisi is incredible. Literally walked basically the last 11, almost 12 miles all the way across with me. So I
Dang.
power walked the last like 11, 12 miles of the Boston Marathon. And if you watch the video, because like I said, they came in and Ethan, who's the director of development, was at this point where he hopped in. I had a couple of friends that we had found along the route that hopped in. So there was like a posse, like every couple of mile or half mile, like another person was just joining the group. And there were cops that were like, you got the best friend group. Look at you got a whole posse with you. And I was like, they're making sure that my ass is going to be across that finish line. That is for sure. Like no one is letting me go anywhere until Boylston Street this year. And the entire time, once we got to Boylston Street, I was like, all right, I'm running it in. And they were like, you got this. And you can see in the video, I'm like, like limping to the side, like it's definitely a wobble. But it was really from, I would say, that whole back half of the race. They were incredible. And I crossed the finish line. And then we come kind of like through the chute, like, the like historic Boston Marathon top, and there was a whole line of people from the Flutie Foundation. And one of the guys, Joe, he's the best. He's kind of like, we always say he's like the unofficial team captain. We have, obviously team captains that are runners on the team, but he's like our staff team captain. And he ran at me and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fall over. He's gonna hug me now. I'm gonna fall right over. But it was incredible. He was like, you did it. You did it. No one deserves this more than you. You crushed it. Like they were just amazing. And we actually had a team member who ended up in the hospital after the race. And so they literally went from the finish line, Nick literally walking the last 11, 12 miles, crossing the finish line, and then hopped in and went to go check in on another team member. Like they were everywhere that day, and they're the best. So that's why I tell everyone, if you're looking for a bib for a bunch of the major races, for Disney races, and you're looking for a good charity to run for, the Flutie Foundation is incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It was a very long day.
Yeah.
It was a very long day.
What did that day look like? How early? Like, what's the start look like? That kind of thing. Because we're used to getting up early for Run Disney races,
Mhm.
and for New York, you've got to get up and take a bus and do all this stuff. For Chicago, you just sort of have to like get there, not too early, but you
Yeah,
basically
at
just
least
have to
like
get there.
yes. Yeah, it's interesting because I think especially because I'm so used to Run Disney, that was one of the things this year, I would say, especially the back half of the training cycle. I was like, okay, I need to run at the time that I would be run, especially my long runs, that I would be
Mhm.
running the race. So we take off, the charity wave takes off at 11:15 in the afternoon.
Dang,
And that was one of the issues in 2024 because by the time, halfway through, it was like mid 70s, straight sun, no shade, and it was horrible. This year, it was like beautiful New England weather. It was like 58, partly cloudy. It was
that is
perfect.
beautiful.
Yeah. And so we had to be and meet at one of the hotels kind of close to the finish line around 8. And then you walk over to the Boston Common and they have all school buses, and they have, it's very well organized, but they have everybody get onto buses, and then they take you out to Hopkinton. And then by the time we got there, because I think our buses left around like 9:15 ish, there wasn't a ton of time to get from like off the bus, any last fuel, last bathroom stops. And then it's about a mile walk from the high school to the start line. So it's a long, a long setup and kind of like road to get there. But it's awesome because the whole area where kind of like you walk to the corrals, it's all houses and
Oh.
they're all partying. Now they've been out there because the elites start at like 9 a.m. So they were finishing but before we even started. So I mean, these people have been out there since like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. So they're like, let's go, you got this. They were ready, primed, if you will, by the time we got out there. So it was great. And it's funny because when you get there and you see all the school buses, if you live around here, it's like every city and town anywhere around Boston. So it's like Lowell, Abington, Medford, Somerville, like every it's just so cool to see like all the cities and towns come together to get all the runners to the race. And when you think about like that community aspect of the Boston Marathon,
Mhm,
it's like down to the school buses. You know what I mean? Every part of it feels like everybody's connected and everybody's
mhm.
behind you to get you to the race and to the start line and to the finish line.
Get ready, Natalie. Chicago is very similar in that way. Every neighborhood is out, all the people are out. There is not a single dead spot on that course in a similar fashion. Everyone is there to get you to the end. So I'm excited to hear that Boston is the same.
Yeah. There's definitely some dead spots where there's like, random foresty kind of areas and there's a highway overpass. And it's so funny because everyone was talking about the highway overpass. I was like, that is the part that I am the least worried about. As someone who runs Disney a lot, that's nothing to me. That's gonna be fine.
that's normal.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that in your first attempt, you made it to about mile 14.
Mhm.
I'm gonna let Natalie take the lead here, but there was something interesting that happened this second go around at the same ish mile marker, and there might
Yep.
have been some panic on our
I
side.
caused a lot of panic for a lot of people. I can tell you that.
So that was about the time your runner tracking stopped.
Yep.
And last year, it was the brigade of me messaging other people who were also following you, trying to
Yep.
get like a sign of life. And I did it again of like, I was like, okay, I'm not worried yet. I'm not worried yet. Okay. And
We
then
had panic text message groups to panic on your behalf.
I
oh, we
love
did.
it so much.
And then I sent the boundary crossing message to Meg of, hello, this is one of KG's internet friends. And I have at least met Meg in person.
Yeah.
And I was like, is she okay?
Just checking.
Just checking in. And then she messaged me back like right away. And she's like, yeah, we just saw her mile, I think 14 and a half, 15. She's doing great. She's headed to, I'm like, oh, whew. And then I'm like, I send a message to Hannah. I send a message to Run Fit Mama. I'm like, guys, we are so back. We are
Yeah.
so in it. And then I'm like refreshing Instagram, waiting for Meg's updates too. Like,
Okay,
but I like fully acknowledge that it was a boundary crossing message.
but Natalie, before we
No.
even cross the boundary, you're skipping over all the okay, so Natalie has like screenshots of your tracking from the last year. So we were comparing times. We're like, okay, so I had your Run Disney times up. I was like, okay, she ran this pace. She should be about here. This is what she ran in Boston. Okay, this is the timestamp on your screenshot from last when she had the medical issue. Okay, it's about the same
Dead.
time. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was like, well, I was like, we don't have to worry yet. We have
Yeah,
a couple hours before we hit that.
Yep.
Of yes, the boundary crossing. Because I didn't even think I still had this screenshot, but because I remember who I was like talking to, we were like all like spiraling, cheering from afar.
I love it. And honestly, I have to shout out Meg. She is literally the MVP because same thing happened last year. And this year, I probably should have told more people that I was going to do this, but I was like, I'm not looking at my phone. Like, I just can't do it because last year, like, oh my God, your tracking stopped. Are you okay? And like, I was getting so many messages. I was like, I literally cannot look at it this year. And so, like, I shared my location with my parents, my siblings, Meg, a bunch of my cousins, friends that I knew that were going to be on the course. So at least they were like, okay, she's still moving. And Meg has made so many additional friends because she's like, the amount of people that message me and are like, hi, Meg, I know you from KG's Instagram post, and I just want to make sure that everything's okay. She's like, I've made so many new friends because I just talked to everybody. She's like, and then I was just pasting your updates to everyone, making sure everybody was in the loop. I was like, thank God for Meg, because even like my siblings and my parents were like, she's not answering. And they were just like following my little blue dot.
I think I told Meg, I was like, I'm giving her an air tag next year.
100%. But yeah, Meg is the best. She is, I mean, one of my best friends. And she is like I always say like the best hype woman. Like she's run Boston before. So she and our friend Xana, who has also run Boston, they every year are like, they're the cheer squad. They know who's where's everybody going, how are they getting there. And Meg is literally almost like an additional sibling at this point. Like my parents will just text Meg and be like, where are we going? How are we getting there? She's dropped off snacks. She dropped off, I don't know if you can see up there, there are 2 new Funko Pops in my collection. It is Mickey and Minnie, and they're like exercise Mickey and Minnie. Have you seen them?
No.
Hold on, I have to get them. That's just the chair making noise. Don't worry, I'm not farting on the podcast. Okay, so they're up on the little shelf with my dopey ears, my marathon ears, and then my dopey bag.
Oh, she's cute.
How cute is she? So Minnie has a blue bow, like a royal blue bow, a like zip up hoodie, a tank, like a teal tank, gray shorts, matching sneakers and socks, and earbuds. And like her lashes are looking great.
Goodness.
And then Mickey is running.
He's going.
He has on a red sweatband, red shorts, like beige tank, and a bib number 1928. Like, how cute is he? So
That's
Meg
so
had
cute.
those on in our backyard. We have a little cabana in a bar, and she was like, there are some special gifts on the bar. So like she made sure there was Bud Light. My parents got all this food and a new Mickey and Minnie Funko.
Oh,
to celebrate the day.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
How did it feel reaching the point or like passing the point that you didn't get to go the first time around this time?
That's such a good question. And I think that was just as exciting as crossing the finish line, honestly.
Really?
Yeah. And like I said, I was still in the back. And as we know, mats were being pulled up, things were coming down. And that was, I think that's one of the hardest parts when you're in the back of a race like that, where like they don't leave things up. And if you don't know the course, you don't know where you are. And so as I was going, my watch, every time it was like mile 15, mile 16, I was like, oh, I'm still going. Mile 16, we're here. And it was one of those moments where it felt very similar to, because you both have been in this moment of the marathon of Dopey, and you get like into Hollywood Studios and you're like, holy shit, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And it was like with every mile past 14 and a half, I was like, another mile down, another mile down. And I was like, now we're at 10. We're down to single digits. And the weather was interesting. Like I said, it was a really, really beautiful day. And there was a piece of the course that was like, there were no clouds. So it was starting to get a little bit hot, but it wasn't bad. And you could tell the people that were like seasoned Boston Marathon like spectators, they're like, you're almost at the city. Clouds are in the city. It's cooler when you hit the city. Like, so they could see it, and everyone just kept saying, it's cooler in the city. You're gonna drop 10 degrees when you get to the city. And literally that's what happened. Like once you hit Brookline and then you hit the Fenway area, it was literally another drop back down in the temperature. So it was like with every Boston milestone too, right? Like, okay, I'm in Brookline. Okay, I'm closer to Fenway. You see the Sitco sign. You see the Boston Strong sign under the bridge. Like all of those pieces. You hit Com Ave, you go under the bridge. Every step, truly, like it sounds so cliche, but like every step, you're like, oh my God, it's happening. It's really happening. And there was a section where, like I said, they were starting to open up roads. And I had actually gotten the email previously that was like, hi, you mentioned you might finish a little bit later. We just ask if, things are officially shut down, just move to the sidewalk. And at that point on Com Ave, there's a spot where you can basically keep going straight, or there's a little overpass bridge and you go underneath. And it's this big area. A lot of the Boston races, like people are hooting and hollering underneath. It's a big like echo chamber, and it's a really fun spot for the races. And Nick was like, I don't know. I mean, they say to be on the sidewalk, but like, there's no cars. He's like, should we just ask the cops if you can keep going? And I was like, I don't know. Do you think we should? And he was like, yeah, I think we do it. So we went over to there's like, because there's cops everywhere. And they were like, he was like, hey, she's really like trying to finish. Like, can she just go this way under the bridge? And they were like, yeah, go ahead. You can do it. And so they're like cheering us on as we go under the bridge. And I have this awesome picture of my other friend, Meg, and my boss, Courtney, who's one of my best friends from work. The two of them had hopped in with me around 23 and 24. And so the picture of the three of us just like empty in the middle of this main street in Boston under the bridge, which was epic. So it was like truly every step after like 14 and a half that like felt just as exciting as crossing the finish line, for sure.
What was going through your head when you finished and you crossed that finish line?
So many things. So many things because, like I mentioned, I was in a lot of pain. Some fun new IT band pop-up pain was
We could be IT band sisters. My right side is my problem side too.
yeah, I've literally never had IT band pain before, but that was why I ended up having to walk because it was screaming
Mm-hmm.
the whole rest of the way. And once we got to like a certain point, a little bit further up on Boylston Street, I was like, all right, I'm running it in. I'm gonna run the rest of Boylston Street. And so part of it was like, holy shit, I did it. I actually did it. And then you kind of get this like flood of emotion where, there's at the point that I was crossing, I mean, there was street sweepers, there were cop cars, all like right before the finish. Now there's still a core group of spectators that wait till the very last runner, the whole race. And I mean, the guys that were in the street sweeper cars were like beeping their horns. They're like, let's go. You're so close. You got it. Don't give up. So, I mean, it was wild to have every single person I ran by cheer me on. Every single one. Because, like I said, there was talk about like, I feel like we talk a lot in the Disney world of like the bubble that you get for like a good photo, right? I had all of Boylston Street. There was nowhere near me. It was awesome. And the volunteer that gave me my medal, she was like, you look so great. And I was like, oh, thanks, because I feel like shit. I feel terrible. And it like becomes this whole big flood of like all the reasons why I did it, right? The whole entire time I was like, I'm doing this for Nate. My nephew has been through some wild, really difficult challenges. And the entire time I was like, none of this compares to what Nate's experienced. There is so much more that I can continue to do, both from fundraising and like one day of suck and pain, again, is nothing compared to what he's experienced and is all going to go towards creating great resources and tools for people in the autism community. So there's like this big piece of like, I did it, right? My brother and sister were right before the finish line. They were cheering me on. And then also having that feeling myself of, I talked about this a lot, I feel like leading up to last year of like reclaiming Boylston Street for myself, of like experiencing what we did in 2013. And, Boylston Street was always a very safe place for me because I worked there for so long. And we were a couple storefronts down from where the second explosion went off. And then it became a very unsafe, very scary, very emotional place for a long time. So really being able to say like, no, this is for us, right? This is for everybody that was there that day. Everyone who's experienced any part of Boylston Street, like, you become this close-knit, extra little community, and that I feel like really hit me hard when I finished too, of like, because you go by both of the Boston Marathon bombing memorials on the route, obviously going up, so there's kind of that whole emotional experience of it too. That's really special. So it was a lot.
Mhm.
It was a lot. It was a long day, but I'm really proud of myself.
You should be. We're proud of you
I
too.
did it.
Let me tell you, your fan club across the United States was all also crying in the club.
The amount of people, I will say, I like, and I'm sure you can probably understand this too, where like you have the podcast. Run Disney is like such a great community, and I feel like, and this sounds kind of silly, but like sometimes like I forget that people care. Right? Like there's like the people like us, right? Like we talk all the time. Like there's the people that you
Mhm.
know. The amount of people that messaged me that were like, I was tracking you all day. I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, I don't even know some of these people. And like they give a shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and people like, I'm so inspired. Like, I want to sign up for Boston. Like seeing you be able to do it and like come back from, what happened last year. Like, I want to be able to do that. And it's, you don't realize how many people are watching or getting inspired, right? Like, and sometimes I think it takes doing something like Dopey or your first marathon or, Chicago. I'm sure you're going to feel that, Natalie, when you cross your finish line. Like, you impact and you can inspire so many people. And sometimes it takes something like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe so many people cared to see like that I could do it. You know what I mean? Or that like cared, that were like, "Oh my gosh, is she okay?" And literally messaging friends and reaching out to be like, "I know this happened last year. Is she okay?" And I was like, I just kept saying like, "I can't believe so many people care." And that's just such a nice reminder too. There's so many good people out there still that want to cheer you on, that want to be a good support. And I said that so much on the way back. The amount of people that were still out on every street in Boston, I was like, my ass will be on this course if I'm not running, cheering until the last person crosses for any marathon Monday that I am alive and able to go. I will be there because it was so impactful to have that much support, in person and through text messages, phone calls, Instagram messages, the audio messages that people sent. Like, it's just really hard to describe how thankful I am for everybody for that.
We love you, KG.
I love you
We
guys.
do. So, kind of going along the theme of reclaiming,
Mhm.
um, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who might not have hit that goal of how? I mean, I guess it's a couple fold of kind of getting yourself back out there and like deciding to like, yes, and like, right, yes, this
Mhm.
happened and I'm going to do better. And even through training and then also, well, deciding to sign up, doing the training, and then getting there. I guess it's a three-parter, but
Yeah,
what kind of advice would you have for somebody who's gone through that?
that's such a good question. And I think there's a few different pieces to it. And it almost has to come in phases. Like, first, I had to almost grieve it, which sounds dramatic, but like, you put so much time and effort and money and stress, and you change your life around, especially something like a training cycle for any distance, right? Like, there's so much that goes into it. And that's why I laugh when Jimmy was like, you have one day to be sad and then we're on to the redemption tour. But it was like, truly, you need time to feel the feels of like, that sucked, that didn't feel great, like, and process all of that emotion. So I feel like that's something that's important, right? Like, you have to, like, it's okay to be sad and it's okay to be mad and frustrated and feel all those things because it's valid,
Yeah.
right? You worked really hard and it didn't end up the way that you thought it would. Definitely didn't end up the way that I thought it would last year. And from there, it was like, okay, what do I want to do differently? And at first, I was like, I don't know if I even want to try again. Like, or maybe if I do, it won't be for another couple of years. And then I was like, no, I'm doing it next year. I'm hopping right back on the horse and I'm going to figure it out. And I had so many things, I feel like in the between Dopey and this year, I had shingles. So I had other crappy races too that like all these things happen, right? And it's like, okay, that's just, you acknowledge it. It happened. It wasn't great, but what's next, right? And like finding the reason to move forward, I think is the next piece of like, do you want to do it? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, that's okay too. You don't have to want to try again. Or you might say, like, I don't want to try again now. I want to try again later. And if you do want to try again, figuring out what are those things that you want to do differently. Luckily, this time around, I was on the team from the jump, so I wasn't joining late. I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. I was very lucky and able to hit my fundraising goal pretty early, so I didn't have to stress too much about that, which was nice. And the biggest piece, I think there's two big pieces. I feel like the first time around, and even with Dopey, like I shared so much of it on Instagram, right? My training runs, and I answered lots of questions from people. And this time I was like, I needed to like lock in. And a lot of people like, oh, I wasn't sure if you were gonna run or not. Like I didn't like you didn't post as much as you used to. The podcast took a hit, right? Like I have episodes that I still haven't put out, and I was like, I just need to like close my eyes and I can't focus on anything other than work, family, and crossing the goddamn finish line of the Boston Marathon. Like there was nothing else that I could allow myself to think about. And you also have to be okay with that, right? Like you may have things that you need to shift in order to say like this is important. And part of that for me was like I talked about it so much and I was so excited for it, and then to have that like crash felt even worse. So I was like, okay, maybe if I don't share as much, if something happens this year, maybe it won't feel as bad. Spoiler alert, it would have felt just as bad. Maybe even worse. I don't know. But in my mind, I was like, okay, maybe I just won't share as much, or like I won't make it as big of a thing. And I also thought like maybe other people won't care as much. Spoiler alert, that also didn't happen. People were, I think, even more
Gonna say.
I think
invested.
we cared more.
Yeah, I think people were
Yeah.
even more invested. And again, I think I was so worried because I was like, what if I fail twice? What are people going to think? And all of these like intrusive thoughts come in, right? And you've got to tell them to like GTFO. We don't need you here. Like we're all set. And I think that was the big thing for me. Every long run after 13 miles and race day, I said, I cannot say or think anything negative, period. I just need to say, I can keep going. I'm going to do this. Unless I am falling over and somebody's calling 911, I'm moving. And I think that really did make a big difference. For all the sports fans listening, I'm a huge Boston sports fan, Boston, New England teams. And I downloaded a couple of things in addition to all my audio messages that were helpful. I did like the best sports speech montages. I
Ooh.
did the miracle speech. So at one point, my
Oh.
sister, my cousin Chelsea, Meg, they were with me, and I was like, "This is your time," and I was like, "That's right, this is my time," and they were like, "You are in a very different headspace than you were last year," and I was like, "That's right, I am." I honestly, I probably looked like I was delusional, like I was literally like I was Herb Brooks on the Boston Marathon course. Their time is done. Like, now get out there and take it. And they were like, okay, Kristen, you just, you keep going. But again, that was, I was like, that's the mindset I need to put myself in. Like, whatever it takes, I'm doing it. So I think that those are, I would say, the big things. Like, grieve it, feel it, acknowledge it, take however much time you need. Might be a day, might be a week, might be months, might be years. And then if you decide you do want to do it, how do you figure out what it should look like and what feels good and comfortable for you? And then keeping as much of a positive mindset as you can while you do it, I think is huge. And I almost felt like I was more proud of myself with that too. Like I was like, I didn't let any of that shit win. Like not because it's very easy, as we all know, during a marathon or like a challenge where you're like, I remember thinking during Animal Kingdom in Blizzard Beach. I was like, who do you think you are? Doing dopey. What do you think this is? Like, you're not gonna make it. And like I said, I'm usually a very optimistic, positive person, but there are those times that can creep in and they can crush you. And I felt a lot of that last year, especially once I started not feeling good. And my whole mindset was like, what do you think you are? Think you're gonna finish the Boston Marathon? What do you think this is? And I was like, no. Like, I know exactly who I am. I know how I got here, and I've trained my ass off. I am going to finish. And again, I think that mindset piece, whatever way that is that works better for you, is the one that you have to make sure you finish.
Were there any points on the course where you had to be like, I don't know, did you overthink and you were like, nope, nope, we're not letting that happen. I don't care what happened at that little bump in the road there last year. I'm past it now. Haha.
A lot.
Get lost, loser. Like,
Yep. And that was literally how I reacted anytime any of those thoughts came in, because it's so easy, like I said, when those things happen, and they will, right? To say like, yep, I feel that right now. This doesn't feel great. Or like, ooh, I don't remember any of the rest of it because you didn't make it that far last year. So of course you don't know what it looks like. And like, but I'm here now, right? So it was like almost being like that, playing that devil's advocate back to yourself, and like the annoying little voice that pops up, like, flick, see ya. We're not doing that today. I think that was like, having that mindset was helpful. And one of the places that I feel like will stick with me for a really long time is the Wellesley Scream Tunnel. And I remember last year it was like so cool because they talk about like how awesome it is and it's this whole big experience. And I remember there weren't a ton of people out there last year. So one, it was really hot. And but like where I was on the course, there just wasn't a ton of people out still. And this year, I remember the closer I got, and I was like, people are still out there. I can hear them. Like, I can hear them. They're still out there. And I started sobbing. So, like, from the first, like, scream that I heard, I sobbed through the entire Wellesley Scream Tunnel. And I was like, oh my God, they're all still out here. They all are cheering like crazy. And then after that was one of the other moments that I was like, but don't get too excited because you didn't make it much further than this last year. And I was like, nope, but I feel a lot better this year than I did last year. So again, just kind of like trying to almost like overcome those or like combat them was key for me this year.
You talked about sort of like, locking in to get
Mm-hmm.
ready for this year. And you talked about, the podcast took a little bit of a hit and stuff. What do you think the biggest challenge was during this training cycle?
I think it was a few things. Work has been crazy. I feel like everybody
for
right
you
now.
it has, yes.
I feel like in general, I feel like everybody's just really busy. And I sold my house, bought my parents' house, moved. So it was like everything that could be an additional stress in life happened, right? And again, everything I was like, okay, but I'm still going to find time. And the weather was terrible this year. And I was like, I'm not risking, like as you were saying earlier, like I was not risking the biscuit slipping on ice outside. I was like, nope, we're not playing that game. So the amount of training that I did on the treadmill was a lot. And I love my Peloton bike. I love strength training. So I did a lot of that still. But I think that was a challenge of like, all right, I'm staring down like 20 miles on a treadmill. And I was like, it is
I can
the
commiserate.
worst.
It sucks.
Yeah. I was like, I remember we've talked about that before. And so there were times where I was like, okay, it looks like it might be nice tomorrow. And I was like, even if I can only get half of the mileage outside, I have to do some of it. And like finding those things that were like, okay, even if it's not everything, I got to do some of it. And I've got to make some of it work. Whether it was like I have to run early or I have to run late or I can't squeeze it in, but I can get in a bike ride. Like I think that part was definitely challenging this year. And that's where like with things like the podcast, I was like, I'm not going to be able to give it the attention that it deserves. So it's just going to have to pause for now. And I was like, and when I'm done, I'll be even more excited to come back because I'm not going to have the stress and like the anxiety of like, okay, but if I stay up too late tonight trying to edit this episode, I'm not gonna be able to get up to go to class tomorrow, or I'm not gonna be able to get up early to run. And I would just spiral,
Mhm.
And I think that was almost like the mental part of it, right? Because like once you get out there and run, you're like, it's gonna be fine.
Mhm.
But it's almost like that mental piece and the structure and like organization of like, I have to get it all in. And we're all trying to just like live life, right?
Mhm.
Like, and I think especially since 2013, very much like life's too short.
Mhm.
Life's too
Yeah.
short to miss all the things. Or so I know Amanda at Once Upon a Marathon talks about that a lot of like when you're training for something, it's a full-time job, right? Like in addition to a full-time job and a life and friends and trying to do all those things and not lose your shit in the process. Like it's really hard to do. And my we've talked about that a lot. And everyone's like, you're going to do another one? And he's like, no, absolutely not. Like Jimmy is hard no. Now, will he change his mind down the road? I don't know, maybe, but he was like the training cycle was just so much. And
Mm.
he's a firefighter, so like his schedule is crazy. So it's like you've got to find ways to make it work. And sometimes you also have to be okay with like it's not going to work this week or it's not going to work today. So how am I going to make it up and still feel like I'm making progress?
Mhm. I think that's something that's like really like not talked about enough with
Mhm.
all sports, but definitely with running is how much of running is just between your ears. It is
Yeah.
not your physical ability whatsoever. It is what's in your head and how much can you convince yourself, fight yourself, whatever to keep going.
Mhm.
And that's going to make people who don't like running be like, why do you keep doing it then? But like, we just do, okay?
Yeah, people ask me that all the time. They're like, "Do you love running?" I'm like, "No, I don't actually, like at all." And they're like, "So then what are you doing?" And I'm like, "But when you get to the point where you accomplish something and you know how hard you worked to get there, right? To your point is between the 2 ears is you know the mental work, you know the structure, the schedule, the dedication, the motivation, all those things that it took you to get there is all worth it
Mhm.
on the other side."
Which is even more props to the back of the Packers because it takes us way more time to train for those big goals.
Yeah. And I've heard so many elites. I've heard Meb talk about that. I've heard Des talk about that, where they're like, those people are out there for like 7, 8 hours. I'm like, yep, that was me. Because again, by the time they finished, we haven't even started yet.
Mhm.
And then we're out there all day long, basically like a full work day sometimes.
Mhm.
And I'm sure we'll probably get to this at some point, but I finished and I was like, I'm never doing that again. I did it. That's it. I'm over.
Do
And
you
then, like,
still
2
feel
days
that
later, I
way?
was like, "But I really wanted to finish a lot faster than that."
There
So
it is.
and the first thing that no joke, the first thing I thought of was Natalie's gonna be like, "I told you."
You just need to give us a heads up. We all sign up the same year. Power move.
2026, so get on
I've
it.
already lottoed for London. I cannot do 3 marathons in 6 months. I mean, like,
You
I
sure
if I get into
can.
London, I will,
Yeah.
but
The
If you
amount of people that did Boston and then London within 6 days, I was like, "Okay." I always thought that, like, dopey to Dumbo, princess, banana people are crazy, and you all are that are listening. But the people that did Boston to the London are
That's
a new level.
insane.
wild.
Insane. I was still not able to like fully walk normally by the time they were running their next marathon.
I just can't imagine the time change and spending that much time on a plane right after doing all of that.
No. And the
Natalie
amount
is
of
like,
people,
I can.
no. The amount of people that people would post pictures like from Logan Airport of like, look at all these people with their marathon jackets and medals. And I was like, there is no amount of money, unless it was a wild family emergency. No way are you catching my ass on a plane immediately after a marathon. No, not
I was
happening.
so worried about that after Ben and I ran Chicago that we did not fly home like right away. We ran on Sunday and we didn't fly home until Tuesday because I wanted to make sure that I had time to like figure out how bad is this. And
100%.
I used points to upgrade our tickets on the way home to first class because I was like, we're not
Smart.
risking this at all.
I mean, the first time I did Dopey, only time I did Dopey, I took myself on a 7-night cruise because I was like, I'm not flying home yet. So I
Sweet.
say, you relax afterwards.
Nice.
I'm sure this will shock you to know that I haven't booked flight for Chicago yet. I'll get them. I got like 5 months.
You have plenty of time.
I got plenty of time. I have the hotel already.
That's important.
Yeah, because
Much more
and
important.
I probably should have booked that earlier, to be honest with you, but I wasn't thinking. I don't know. I don't know these things outside the Disney bubble, which is also well, like I know, but like I don't know, right? It's like a whole new world
Mm-hmm.
outside of experiencing things. And is it weird that that's one of the things I'm the most nervous about for
Is what,
Chicago
getting to the
is
race?
just not just that it's different, but that because obviously the marathon course was new to me at one point. It was new to me in 2023. It's not like I knew that, but just how new some of that is going to be and like how it's like, oh, it's like not going to be the same marathon experience as I had before because it's literally in a different city. It's in a
Yeah.
different state. So I guess I'm curious because I guess you'll be in the boat that I was in that I'm going to my hometown and away for Chicago. Like, how was it feeling like in your element, but like out of your element, but in your element again?
It's so weird. Even just like sleeping in my own bed is weird. And like,
Oh, yeah.
oh,
That's so weird about locals.
yeah. I'm always like, I don't, this is, okay. I guess I'm just going to go home and go to bed now. But like, and I feel like I get more nervous that I'm going to forget something if it's a race at home. Whereas like in Disney, I have my owner's locker. I have most of my stuff down there. I lay it all out the night before. So it's like my routine doesn't feel right at home, which is funny. But I feel that way even for like a 5K. You know what I mean? So it's not just the marathon. I feel like any race at home. I'm like,
We just talked about that last week. I ran a 4-miler and I had no idea what time to show up. And I was late. Well, not. I actually was right on time, but I showed up 60 seconds before they called my corral.
oh my God, were you stressed?
A little bit.
You're like, is there a dance party? Like, what's happening beforehand? I don't know.
Where's Pelkey?
Yeah. I think the good thing about Boston, I'm sure Chicago is probably the same, is there's still so much content on YouTube, just like there is for the Disney races of like the course and the beforehand and people giving so many tips and tricks. I'm sure there's tons of stuff like that for Chicago too.
And you've got me, Natalie. You've got
Yeah.
me.
You know who else has run Chicago? Meg. So you can chat with Meg too, and she'll give you the whole scoop. Now you guys are besties.
You can hire Meg as your personal social media manager for the day.
Honestly, she would
I'm gonna
crush.
give her my air tag. Share location. let my people know where I'm at.
Meg is currently a PE teacher, and I've been like, you gotta get out. Become a Disney travel planner, like something. Maybe this, she's gonna listen to this being like, what are you doing? But maybe this is what she does. She can become a professional, like,
Hype
race
woman.
spectator hype woman. She would crush.
We'll come up with a name for the business. We've
Yeah.
got you, Meg.
Be amazing. So how many of the majors has she done? Because she's in Boston, she's done Chicago.
Those
How
two.
many stars does she have? Okay.
Those two, yep.
Not New York yet. I'm gonna say yet for her because we're besties now, so I can say that.
Yes. And it's funny. I was with her last night and she was like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I did get a little bit of the bug this year, like going down Boylston Street. I was like, oh yeah? How about next year? So now I'm like, now I want to just get everybody to run Boston next year with me.
If you can help us find charity bibs,
Do it up.
I would consider.
So like as I was spiraling,
We're also going to have to do a whole thing where you teach us how to fundraise, though.
Yep, I got you.
Yeah, as I was spiraling, tracking you, I am like looking at charity bibs and
Yes.
and I'm like sitting here at the point. I'm very, very thankful that I am now fully funded for Chicago. But at the point, I was not quite there yet, and I was like, okay, you're not even done with this and you want to do 10 times that? Because like some of them, like Project Purple, obviously pancreatic cancer is near and dear to both of our hearts.
Mhm.
It's like that one's a 15K-er. I'm like, oh baby. I'm like doing the math in my head on with the company match, like where does that leave me?
Yep.
Uh so it's like might be a couple years down the road for that one. But I was definitely looking and spiraling and trying to figure out something to use my energy for.
You know, it's a good way to do it. Gets you
Yeah,
excited.
truly.
I'm telling you, that's where not only Marathon Monday, but Marathon Tuesday. Everybody says they're going to run. So
Mhm.
now it's just, now we're like a month out and people still want to do it next year. So that's positive.
I want to get all my stars eventually. Yeah, probably it'll take my entire life, but I'm gonna get them.
See, I was always like, I just want to finish Boston. I don't care about a time. I don't care about a stop. I don't care about any of it. I was like, I'm never going to get all the other ones anyway. So what's the point of getting one? And then once I finished, I was like, but what if I did?
You also already did the one that's the hardest to get into, so you got this.
I don't know.
The year you show up to Chicago, let me tell you.
We will be there the whole way.
Well, and Chicago's pretty flat, right? I feel like that's,
Mhm.
everyone says that's like the big positive of
It's very flat.
Boston is not.
I'll take a shot of Malort for every star you have at that point. So please make it your next one so I only have to take 2.
Yeah.
No one likes Malort.
But the Pope! That's 2 Pope jokes in a row, baby! I am living for Chicago Pope.
There are some good Chicago Pope memes, I will
They're
say.
so good. The Ope.
There was also, did you see, there was a popcorn stand that was on fire in Epcot the other day?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And somebody was like, oh my gosh, white smoke in Epcot, a new popcorn bucket has been selected. I was like, dead. The crossover nobody needs, but we have.
I love like now that I think I've posted enough Pope memes that people like it's I don't know, they call it like pebbling. Like I guess penguins give each other pebbles or whatever
Mhm.
to like show love. But like the number of people who are now sending me Chicago Pope memes who like from the Ren Disney community or whatever, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I'm your unhinged Pope meme friend.
Yes.
That makes me so happy.
I would say my pebble is this lady right here, Miss Piggy. The amount of Miss Piggy things that people now send me is what I feel.
Oh
That's my
my
pebble.
gosh.
So Hannah,
I'll
what's
have
going
to
to be your pebble that we can all send you?
Well, at the office, people send me gnomes.
Oh, okay.
Other than that, anything purple. I'm obsessed with the color purple.
Same.
I will buy anything if it's in purple. Like I just
Love
got a
that.
new purple cup post race. It
Ooh,
glows in the dark. There's
love
like
that.
little like the straw glows in the dark and then there's like little speckles all over it. So like I was sitting in front of the window all day with it and then I brought it to bed last night to sit on the nightstand and it was glowing on the nightstand.
You're like success.
But yeah, probably purple stuff or maybe apparently gnomes.
All right. Now we know.
Yeah.
I got a really broad sense of my memery, but I accept any and all Pope memes. Honestly, the Catholic memes, even before the Pope died, were like hitting because around Easter, it's like people like basically like, but I went to Catholic school up until college. Okay. So obviously my feed is diluted of other Catholic school kids
Yeah.
and things where it's like, okay, are we going to all admit that this song in Mass is a banger? Like, yeah.
I was just going to say, now that I know that, because I also K through 12 did Catholic school, well, most of it. The amount of TikToks and reels that my sister and some of my cousins send around, you're now getting added to the list because they're
Beautiful.
so good.
They've been on fire recently. In terms of future things, so what is next? Now that we have done our redemption tour in a way. But have we? Are there
Yes.
other things you feel like are there unfinished things with you? And let's talk about it. What's the future looking like?
So I've decided I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break and kind of like take it easy. So I'm doing the run to home base in July, which is one of my favorite races that we do at Fenway Park every year. This will be my 9th year doing that. And that one's also nice because like I have to raise like $800, which in comparison to Boston feels like whew, piece of cake.
Pennies.
Yes, so nice. But it's for the home base program, and they support Invisible Wounds of War veterans with traumatic brain injury, PTSD, things like that. They're a really incredible organization. So I have that coming up. And then really, I don't have anything else on the books until Disneyland. I'm doing the 5K, I think. I got in either the 5K or the 10K. I forget.
Half marathon weekend or Halloween?
Half marathon.
Okay.
Because my only goal was to do yoga.
Oh.
Because again, Miss Piggy. There was no way I was missing anything Miss Piggy. So I was like, am I going to go out to California to do Miss Piggy yoga? Yes, I am. So I think it was the 5K that I got into because maybe the 10K sold out by the time I got in. So I'm doing that. And then, of course, I'll do Princess. And then, yeah, I feel like it depends on the day where I was like, I finished, don't tempt fate, don't get crazy. But also, I would really like to finish closer to what I had really hoped and anticipated for time wise. So I think Boston next year is a very strong possibility, but I definitely would only do it, I think, with the Flutie Foundation because they were just incredible. I would love to work with them and continue to work with them. I may go down for marathon weekend at Disney World. I might do like the 5K or the 10K, but I really also, they have a pretty big team for Dougie's team for the marathon weekend. And they do a ton of different events down there. They do like a concert, they do all sorts of different events. So I might just go down and kind of volunteer and help out with some Dougie's team stuff.
We still have a
And
rain check to exchange. So
yeah,
We do.
yes. So I think it's kind of just like, it feels like casual, which is
Mhm.
nice. So I'm kind of like in a situationship with running right now. Is maybe a good way to put it. Not ready to make a commitment right now, but we're just hanging out.
Very nice.
That's how I feel.
Mr. Natalie learned what situationships were in the last couple of weeks because he asked me, he's like, "What do you know what that is?" I'm like,
Dead.
yes, but no. Like you and I have been together for almost 8 years. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, so that's the plan. The podcast. I'm really excited to bring the podcast back. I've got, like I said, some episodes to put out, some episodes to record. I've got lots of exciting stuff. I feel like I'm getting my excitement back between chatting with you guys, chatting with Rise and Run. I was actually on a more like work related podcast last week.
Ooh,
And I was like, all right, I'm getting kind of like my groove back, which feels exciting too.
the podcast itch.
Yes.
Podcast bug.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
And that's the scoop.
I'm excited to see your logo pop up in my feed again.
Yes.
5 a.m, like,
Yeah.
we are so back, baby.
Let's go. One goal down, next one up.
Yay. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about? Anything we missed? Anything you want to plug, promote? Anything?
I think the biggest thing, just a big thank you to everybody that reached out, that supported, the two of you especially, text messages, audio messages, stories, Instagram messages, everything. I truly don't think I can describe to anybody. Like words will not do justice how thankful I am for all the friendships like the two of you that I've made and the amount of people that have supported me in all the crazy ideas that I have, but I truly don't think I would have been able to finish if I didn't have people like the two of you and all my friends and family telling me that I could do it. Because again, it can be a very dark place when you don't reach something when you feel like you worked so hard for it, but to know that you have so many people behind you that are cheering for you to do it and want to see you succeed. I think that's a really incredible friendship when you've got people that are cheering for you no matter what. So appreciate you both for that a lot. Natalie, you okay over there?
Someone cut an onion.
Yeah. I've cried so
My
much I
mom's
have none
obsessed
left.
with you. My mom's like, oh, like I was just, tell a little bit about, especially the connection with pancreatic cancer research.
Yeah.
She's like, well, now I love her.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I think I can just talk to you two forever. So
Yeah. I didn't plan a graceful exit for this one.
But that's the most fitting, I feel like, for the three of us.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Bye.
Peace. Well, I think that's an episode. Special thanks to KG for joining us once again to talk about her magical Boston Marathon experience. If you enjoyed listening to our show, please leave us a review and a 5-star rating. We love reading your reviews out loud, and you might even be featured on a future podcast episode. We have a community spotlight on our Instagram at Stride Sisters Podcast. If you want to be featured for a Medal Monday, Finish Line Friday, or any accomplishment that you'd like to celebrate, send us a picture via our social media platforms or our email. And to continue the fun, join us on our Facebook page. All the ways to connect with us can be found in the show notes. Thanks for listening. Until our next adventure, we're wishing you endless miles of magic and memories. See you next time.